What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that.
News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, the big story was Fani Willis taking the stand, the witness stand yesterday. She's the Fulton County District Attorney who wants to prosecute Donald Trump. She was visibly upset. She was angry, in my opinion. It certainly seemed like it. She was flapping papers around. It's a lie. It's a lie. She said at one point, do you think I'm on trial? These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial no matter how hard you try to put me on trial. She told defense attorney Ashley Merchant. And then she said, Merchant's interests are contrary to democracy. Here's the thing that I just find so hilarious is how some of these people lie so effortlessly, and the lies just flow right off it. Oh, it's great to see them. Again, I'm not a prognosticator of most things. My predictions aren't worth much. I have learned over the years. So I've stopped making them, but I've got to say, watching that unfold, it certainly doesn't seem to bode well for the Georgia election case against Donald Trump, because you've got basically then everybody in the Fulton County office, DA's office, who likely is going to wind up being disqualified, meaning then this case would have to be moved to another county in Georgia. You'd have Fulton County completely out of it, and you've got to wonder then if over time they'll allow this to go on for as long as they can. But it's pretty hard to believe that after yesterday's just damning, testimony by Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, hard to believe that thing. Did you watch any of that yesterday? Because, if you're looking for some entertainment, I think this weekend you can go find it. We have talked about, obviously, we spent a lot of time talking yesterday about the shooting at the Kansas City Super Bowl parade. And police now are saying it was the result of a dispute, is what investigators are saying. There was some kind of dispute that was ongoing. This was not an effort to go out and let's open fire on a number of people in a crowd. No, it was some kind of dispute between these two. That's according to early reports. We'll have to wait and see. Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves held a news conference yesterday, and she said, we experienced a tragic event during a time that was meant for celebration. The law enforcement response was exemplary. Those who attended also responded and helped one another. It's what we talked about yesterday. I think and she publicly thanked the Good Samaritans who physically stopped one of the suspects. Police at this point have not identified the three people who have been detained. They have not said whether any of them will face charges. You can imagine they're trying to piece together what it is that happened. So there's certainly investigation ongoing. But you've got to appreciate these comments by the police chief. And again, we saw it happen in Kansas City. You've got people running, don't want to get hurt, so they're running away from what's occurring. And what do you see? Police officers who are running right into it. They're charging into it. This is why I have such deep appreciation. I can't say this enough, especially in this political climate where you've got all of these defunding police crap that's going on, all these, places where you refuse to prosecute. Police wind up catching some of these folks, and then prosecutors who just release them, they wind up, racking up additional charges sometimes the same day they were arrested in the first place. So law enforcement, I think, just faces, as well as district attorneys who are serious about their job of protecting the public. I just have such appreciation for law enforcement. Very much along the lines of our men and women who answer their country's call, in the military. So there's also video of one of the suspected shooters at the parade that's out there. So video from the incident showed bystanders tackling one of the men. We went through that in detail yesterday. And now that video can be seen. And it's a long shot, but bystanders can be seen tackling one of the men who was later then arrested pretty quickly, in fact, by law enforcement. Other stories that are trending this morning. The first criminal trial against a former president in U.S. history will begin on March 25th. This is the Manhattan case against Donald Trump. And a New York judge ruled against Trump. Trump wanted to get this dismissed or delayed if he could. Donald Trump is trying to get it out of the middle of the election cycle. He wants to get out there and be campaigning. And, so Trump has been trying to delay this, and Judge Juan Merchan denied Trump's motion yesterday. He said, at this point, I can inform you that we're moving ahead with jury selection on March 25, he said. And he later said he expected the trial to last about 6 weeks. Then Trump was speaking outside the courtroom, and he said, a lot of what we've heard from Donald Trump, for those who are following, Trump said, this is a great double standard. And it's election interference, he said. And he acknowledged, he said, he was trying to delay the beginning of the trial because the proceedings are taking him off the campaign trail. And Trump said, we want delays. Obviously, I'm running for election. How can you run for election when you're sitting in a courthouse in Manhattan all day long? He said, I'm supposed to be in South Carolina right now. So Trump is right. And this would be different from other court cases against Trump, where Donald Trump needs to physically be present. He can't just say, well, my attorneys have got it and I'm off campaigning. And the judges said, in this case, Trump has to physically be there, which I think for some of us just underscores the whole sham nature of these trials to begin with. That's exactly what they were designed to do, is to get Donald Trump off the campaign trail. Also, Representative Mike Turner, and we talked about this yesterday. He is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. He raised national concern Wednesday when he released an urgent notice warning of a serious national security threat. And now we've got members of Congress who are being briefed on it, and John Kirby at the administration responding to it. And what it is that Turner is concerned about It appears that Russia is in the process of deploying multiple satellites. So they've either already done that or are preparing to deploy an anti-satellite based nuclear weapon system in space. And there are stories out there that say this is a Russian anti-satellite weapons capability designed to destroy or degrade U.S. and allied satellites. And how do you protect your satellites from that kind of attack? Well, you can't. You can't. And hence the concern here of the last few days. I think we'll be hearing more about that. Also, the White House on Wednesday said that Palestinians living in the U.S. will be shielded from deportation as the Israel-Hamas war continues. They cited significantly deteriorated conditions on the ground in Gaza. So Palestinians living in the U.S. will be shielded now from deportation. Here's another story involving Black History Month. And this came up at a school board meeting of Miami-Dade County Public Schools. This came up on Wednesday. Dr. Steve Gallen was among those at the meeting, and he said that Black History Month's events are not something that I want to back up a little bit because some of these folks talk and it's a bit of it gets convoluted. What it boils down to is that permission slips have been required for students to attend some Black History Month events. And so they're taking a look at this and talking about it. And he said, to the extent that the parent's failure to sign a form for something that may be restricted to instruction in the classroom, I think we need to clarify that. I want to have a conversation. So the permission slip is tied to a new state board rule. Florida's Parental Bill of Rights requires school districts to get parental consent for activities such as clubs, speaking engagements, school dances, and events. And this is a Black History Month event. Now, some of them would require a parental permission slip. And that's what's at the heart of that. Man, some of these folks, this guy's a doctor. And you know what? Unfortunately, you find this among some people, the more educated they are, the less their ability to be able to speak in a way that can be easily understood. Man, I just struggle through so many stories. It's like, what in the hell are these people trying to say? Just say it in everyday words. President is announcing that more Americans could qualify to have their student loans forgiven. So we might see more student loan forgiveness. This was a proposal unveiled yesterday that outlines multiple factors the education secretary can consider to determine whether borrowers are facing the type of hardship that will get them relief. So the Biden administration has already canceled $136 billion in student loan debt. But the Supreme Court struck down President Biden's original $400 billion plan to cancel it, as you'll remember, last summer. But we just keep coming back to the same things again and again. A Monmouth University poll says nearly half of Americans think that the president could be replaced as the Democratic nominee in 2024. Nearly half. And this Monmouth University poll reveals the president is seen in more of a negative light than Donald Trump. Wow, that's saying something. Other stories that are trending this morning. Vladimir Putin says if it were up to him, who would he like to see in the upcoming U.S. presidential election? Well, he'd like to see Joe Biden reelected for a second term. So this was Putin was speaking with Russian state TV, and Putin said that Joe Biden was more experienced and predictable than Donald Trump. To which I thought, do we want a president who's predictable? And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery.